Kate Falcha. Welcome to Irish Granny Tarot. We are covering the Convoluted Universe, Book 4 by Dolores Cannon, and this is video number 4. So, we're starting chapter 36, called Working with the Systems of Earth. So, she is working with a subject named Henry, who had a weird experience. In 2005, he was falling asleep and he heard a voice say, "Your father is dying." And the next thing he knew, he was going to a UFO. And that's all he remembers. So he wanted to know more about it. That was why he sought out the hypnotic help from Dolores Cannon. And he's taken back to this moment, and he remembers getting ready for bed, and he heard, "Your father is dying." And he tells Cannon, "So I left." And she says, "Where?" He says, "I went to another galaxy. I thought about it, and I was there. I found myself beside a strange being in a bed with the skin of many colors. Around the head, there was something like feathers or hair, but not really." And he says he saw that he looked the same. The face of the other had eyes, and he couldn't describe what its hands looked like, and it had no clothes. But next to him, there was a messenger. He says, "I realized I was in a body on Earth, but not really, that wasn't really me, because I was on a mission." So he had been called back from a mission because this being was his father. And he said it's really from a completely different realm of existence where he comes from, his home. And he says it's where we develop planets and other forms of life for the planets. And we go to Earth to learn how to handle the life forms that we've created for other planets when they become unpredictable and out of control. She says, this person, Henry, says, "My father is in charge of this whole thing. And it's like raising kids." He says, "We create them and we just don't know how they're going to turn out, but we're responsible for them and we monitor them. And we create with our thoughts. It's part of the hierarchy of learning. And it's unusual," he says, "that his father's energy is dissipating, and he discovers that the entire group is actually progressing to another layer, shifting to another layer of energy. The bulk of this session is impossible." Oh, this is a little note I wrote for you all. "The bulk of this session is impossible to synopsize. Cannon is confused. It's a series of questions with obscure answers. And she eventually is told, look, all the stuff we've talked about here, the human mind can't get it. It's way more complicated than our dual system of thinking can handle, our, good, bad, black, white, life, death." She says there's just too much to it. We don't have the brain power. She tried to write about it. I couldn't even synopsize it. A lot of these books are in the format of, she asks a question, the subject in trance answers, and then a narrative is eventually formed. So there's a lot of repetition of sentences and stuff. And I try really hard to put it together in some sort of cohesive, comprehensive storyline. And oftentimes her books will describe environments or feelings of energy and light. And it's just, you have to read the book. I have to skip over some of it because it's just impossible to synopsize. He's told that there are many universes and many different sets of laws of physics. I love that. I thought that was really interesting. I think that validates why I did so poorly in physics class, because I was operating by a different paradigm. Anyway, there are multiple timelines and multiple probabilities and possibilities for events all happening simultaneously. And we're given choices, which is why predicting the future is almost an exercise in frustration and may not even serve a purpose. You can pick up on energy, but the energy changes. You can pick up on an event, but it's completely dependent on many, many, many probabilities and choices. So you might be predicting a parallel potential event, but who knows what road we're all going to be going down. Does that make sense? So given a choice, we pick one choice. Many different laws of physics, multiple timelines, many probabilities, many possibilities, all happening simultaneously. We're given a choice. We can pick one, but the thought of somebody else creates an energy that has to go somewhere, and it creates a whole new timeline, and that starts another series of cascading choices of thoughts and events. And so you see why it's so problematic. It's about the moment. It's not about trying to figure out how it's all going to come out. It's really important to focus on the energy of the moment and the best decisions based on good vibrations. So, chapter 37, the healing of Anne. And they have a discussion before they actually do the session. And Canon agreed to let Anne's friend of a friend come to her house after she had a weird experience. So Anne's friend brings her to Canon and figure out what's going on. And Anne agrees to let Nina, who is a practitioner of gentle touch, kind of like Reiki, give her an energy massage. And while she was on the table, she suddenly felt that she was elsewhere with many beings touching her, but she wasn't scared. And she realized, after talking with Canon, that she was in two places at one time. These beings were like orange gel, and they communicated telepathically. Machinery was all around, and there was a massive overhead light. They told her it was okay to stare at the light, it wouldn't hurt her, and it began to strobe. She started to get afraid they were going to steal her emotions or something, and they said they would never hurt her, that they were giving her information. They were flashing information to her, including a bunch of numbers really, really fast, and she was receiving this information in the form of geometry and strange signs. What does that sound like? Crop circles. So Canon has heard this a lot. She said some get information in a beam of light, that the light actually carries complex information, that while they're relaxing, this beam of light will put the information in a whole thing solidly in their foreheads. Some would feel a weird compulsion to doodle or draw the information. Canon has been told by ETs that these symbols each contain a ton of information going to the brain on a cellular level. And separately, Linda Moulton Howe was told that crop circles contain symbolic, complex information in sacred geometry, for example, and that just looking at them is enough for it to be assimilated into your DNA, and that's the point. People are going to need this information as the earth transforms, and they'll have it when it's needed, and they won't know where it came from. So this is the meaning of, that's so funny. I guess I must have remembered. This is the meaning of crop circles. You get information just by looking at them. Anne said that aliens are doing the same hand motions as Nina, so that there's this overlap of awareness, I guess. They tell her that they're learning from her strong emotion. So, and we hear that a lot about ETs, that some have a hard time understanding the level of emotion, the acuity of emotion that humans feel. These aliens had a molecular change that affected their brain waves and how they felt emotion. I must be remembering reading this more than I realize. So Canon refuses to communicate telepathically. She says that they need, she tells them in this session that she needs to be able to record for future reference. And they laugh at how primitive her black box recorder is. They record through light, and they store it inside their bodies. She says that she's told that they come from a seventh plane, that they communicate with her by vibration, that she's actually in two places at once. Like in sleep, we are here, but we're also in our dreams. Earth people have been on a negative, destructive plane for a long time. And ETs are looking for people with whom they can communicate and help not to do harm. Anne's perception of being on a UFO has been created by these beings, so it's like a screen memory, because it would be less scary than her seeing their real location, which is on a different plane. And this happens often, which begs the question, how weird is it where they're coming from and where they take her, if thinking that you're on an alien UFO is less weird? I mean, that's just remarkable. So she's told this happens often, that they're really an energy mass, that they have no physical form. They're not really individual. They're like a big group of energy. So we are a very low species. Very few of us are enlightened. Join the crowd, I guess. ETs say it's not time for you to have all the information yet. It will increase. Our understanding will increase in time to come. The information that Anne gets will help her physical issues in this life. And they're told that people have to ask for help in a mass, which is why group meditation is so good. And I've been forgetting to suggest that, doing group meditation. So I'll just toss it in right now while I'm thinking of it, because I'm going to forget. If we make the intention, all of us here, to set aside a little bit of time every day to meditate on sending love and peace to this planet, I don't think it matters when we do it or whether we do it all at the exact same moment. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is that we do it. So let's make that intention. I've been trying to do that. It's very hard for me. I have far too many distractions of books and podcasts and books on tape, and I have to really prioritize. It's difficult. So maybe we could make that our intention for the rest of the year, to set aside just a little bit of time every day and focus on the love and well-being of this planet, with the intention of easing the hostility and the hate and the fear. I got sidetracked, sorry. So they give Canon chemistry formulas to enlarge her white blood cells, and that it can help cure diseases. And she researched it afterwards. So they gave her this information. They gave her a formula. And they said, this will be a pill that will help with cancer and other diseases. And it was like a formula for a pill. And she looked into it, and she found out they're already researching this. Interesting. Then she's told, the ET tells her, that your aircraft is polluting your universe and it's leaking into other universes. And we have to stop using fossil fuels. Your people have chosen nothing to use that God has provided, that are resources that are better. And we're running out of time. You aren't working as a unit. We have the power to change things if we work together, but we keep our energy separate from each other. And I'll just interject here again that I'm doing another book in a couple of weeks, or a week, I don't know, soon. And it's about the fear and insecurity that's constantly kept going by money interests, power interests. It's exactly what she's talking about. Mind power joined cooperatively is hugely increased, so it's like a logarithmic intensity. She's shown the drawing of a plant for medicine and fuel. This plant, the stem and the leaf, was given to you, and some humans have been told that this can be used for this. I don't know what it is. And then Cannon asks about healing her client here, Anne, that they're talking through. And she's complaining of diabetes and pain, and they say that right now, right here, that's all gone. We've taken care of it. And she had had in the past cancer, and they said that's all gone, but she needs to stop eating meat. And she's told that Anne must call on their help once a day. So when Anne wakes up, oh, I'd forgotten about this. When Anne wakes up, she tells them, oh, the plant that you've been given for medicine and fuel and for other things, it's cannabis. Okay. She said it's much more valuable and useful than we realize, that there's been the resistance to it because of the money-making power of the fossil fuel industry. So next day, Anne went and had her blood sugar checked, and it went from its usual 300, which is pretty high, to 80, and she never again needed any medication for it. She returned to the doctors to retest her throat cancer. She'd been scheduled for surgery. It was gone. Her heart was all 100% better. And it's been over 2 years from the time of the incident, the healing session, to the writing of this book, and she was perfectly fine. Nothing bad ever happened again. And she brought a copy of her medical chart to Cannon, and the doctor wrote, "We have no explanation for this case." Chapter 38, the backdrop people. So this was a new concept for Cannon. She called it a mind bender. So maybe you want to take a little prophylactic aspirin or Excedrin or something. I think we're all going to have a headache here in a minute. So the client is Suzette, and in trance she finds herself standing outside a tall forest. The sun is covered by clouds, and then she realizes, well, no, wait, the sun's not covered by clouds. The air is dirty. She sees dinosaurs, and she's smelling the air, and the dinosaurs, she says, are very agitated. She was in a hairy body of a middle-aged man in an animal skin, and she was upset because the air was going and there was going to be no life left. Life is hard, she said. We have, in this time and place, she says, we have to be careful of the beasts. We have to kill them to eat and for skin. She's living in a cave with a child to escape the bad air. Death is coming to the trees and the dinosaurs. They communicate telepathically, these people do, with the trees and the dinosaurs, and they told him. Other people don't believe what he's saying about the air being bad. The air is slower to affect him because he's lower to the ground, and he needs to hunt to feed the child. He gets a small animal, and then they stay in a cave a long time, and when he comes out, everything is dead and brown. But the air is starting to clear, so whatever was causing the pollution is gone. Some animals did survive, and some animals survived in the water. Plants are returning, the sun is shining, it's getting warmer. It was very cold because the sun was blocked. All the other people were dead. So Cannon takes him forward in time. He sees a ship in the sky, and he's taken up in a light. And what's in there are light-skinned creatures with white hair, and their body has no hair. And they treat him like they've just captured a beast. He's taken to a city of crystals and says, I'm home. He says he's been beast-like on purpose on that other planet with the bad air, intentionally to save the child. So as they arrive, his body transforms and he becomes like the ETs who saved them. he can't understand the symbols that he has to tell Cannon the planet's name. And he said when he first arrived in this new place with the ETs that he was teased. And they were kind of giving him a hard time. We don't die. And then he transformed to his original state and realized that his mission was to save this child because the child had information and that he was capable of using crystals to heal himself. So the question is, why was the air bad? He said, well, everything that could go wrong did. There were too many volcanoes. The people who died were a backdrop. They didn't have a choice. They had only one path. They were basically slaves that they went from one star system to another as a backdrop to help people on a mission to learn to stay on a path. So they're kind of extras in a play that have no choice but to do that role. Not all beings are light source. Not all beings are light sourced, and not all light beings are light sourced. Sometimes they're just energy that want to help others on their path. They're just energy like extras in a movie. And even some animals are that. Then through Suzette in this trance state, the ETs or whoever this being communicating with Cannon is says there's much pain here. My job is to teach those of a higher vibration to help this planet. Talk about the Earth. There are others who need to teach the young. The time is short because of lower beings on this planet. The young really need to heal the planet. The backdrop people are angry. All they want to do is kill or hurt. Their negative energy can hurt the planet. Oh, I wonder if they're all wearing red hats. We're running out of time. Backdrop people cannot be saved. They're too angry. Their role is to destroy the planet. And they are the ones who are going to end up staying with the old Earth. But the Earth cannot be destroyed. These backdrop people will experience catastrophe because they can't be saved. The new place will be beautiful. They'll be gone, and the others will move on. There'll be a new higher energy vibration, and it'll be a place of learning. And really, I'm going to just throw this in here because to me this sounds like everybody dies, and the people that are ready to evolve will move to a higher vibration, a place of learning, a good place, a beautiful place, new earth, etc., etc., etc. And people who are not ready will have to come back and slog through it again somewhere else. I think this is about semantics more than anything. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments. It's like two levels. The new earth on a high vibratory level in two different timelines, and we won't even see each other, but that's what the planes of existence after this incarnation are anyway. So I'm not sure I understand fully the difference. There'll be a lot of dying as Earth goes through these changes. I think we're witnessing that now. If you haven't already watched it, you should watch the discussion I had with Denise about this, just the most recent one. I'm not sure when she's going to put it up. So we talk about this a little bit, what's going on, and we talk about it from a material point of view. We're not getting too metaphysical about it, but it kind of goes hand in hand with this. A lot of dying going on, and watching it happen is really, really hard. And there's going to be more as the Earth goes through changes. And many of the backdrop people are just energy. They're just energy being used. Cannon had an inspiration. She said, most of us choose to come to experience Earth and have a higher purpose to save the Earth. But other energy also comes to be bit players in our illusion. Backdrop people have no real purpose. They're not really people. They're people, but they're not souls. And they're called slaves, but she thinks this is a harsh, poor choice of words. They're just movable energy. And she thinks that their anger comes from the negative energy around them. They absorb it, the wars and the catastrophes and everything. They provide the drama for our illusion. And we need to regard this unemotionally, that they're extras from central casting. This is just her theory, but I'd forgotten I read this. This really makes a lot of sense. She thinks that they'll be left on the old earth because they have such a low vibration and no real purpose. They teach us lessons, but they aren't intended to evolve any further. Those who realize their higher purpose and a higher vibration will move to the new earth, and those who let the negative pull them down will have to stay. And we must not let ourselves be sucked into the angry, negative energy of the backdrop people. That's the big important lesson here. It's a delicate balance between, I think this is a message from her for today. This is how to react. How do we react towards all this right-wing stuff, this violence and stuff, hatred, discrimination? How do we react to that? Well, we have this delicate line that we have to stay on. Recognizing it, acknowledging it, rejecting it, trying to provide an opposite example, an example of peace and love, without getting ourselves pulled into it and without completely ignoring it. Because, like I always say, it's like AA, First you have to admit you have a problem. Anyway, chapter 39, the fragments reunite. This comes from a session she held in Santa Fe in 2006. And she said she wasn't doing well herself because she was troubled by the altitude. She's got a client named Pamela in a trance who says everything is sparkling and alive. Crystals that she sees are intelligent. They're everywhere. She says they're like a carpet that hang in the air. She sees glowing colors. She says it's a living energy, a dimensional place. Sounds like Dolores Cannon slipped her a little acid. That's what she's describing. She says it's strong, but it's not aggressive. It's really relaxing. She says, I am light. I have no form unless I want it. I'm in a place where everything I know is coming together. It's a convergence of all I have been, an allness, a dimension of spirit, dimension of the spirit side. I'm absorbing all kinds of direct knowledge. All of me is coming together. All fragments are moving together. She says it's a gathering of energy and knowledge. Everything learned that I was supposed to learn, I have learned. And I don't need to be going out and getting information in a fragmentary way. I can bring it all back together, coalesce, and enjoy everything. My angelic nature is opening. She says, I will have more power and abilities to use the higher aspects of myself. They are all Pamela, higher aspects of herself, that she will have more potent energy to do her work. It's a celebration and it's all a part of love. She has fulfilled her needs and she wants to experience more of the nature of God. This is a change in vibratory capacity that light beings will be in her or part of her for all time. This is not mainly for individual people, it's for the whole, and she will understand the whole at this point. And part of the vibration and frequency changes that are happening to her are happening to everyone everywhere. Many people are awakening to this, and this will make it easier for others, so it's like a domino effect. Everyone will feel comfortable and everyone will feel comfortable with the wholeness. I couldn't read the word in wholeness. It's kind of a weird word. Everyone will feel comfortable with the wholeness and will know something is happening to their soul. It's happening for those both in and out of body. So people who've come before, who have died, whose spirit is not incarnated, also are going through this. It's because it's an energy thing. And those who need the body will still go through this. And all spirit is going through it. It's part of the development of the whole. So, we were remarking in our conversation, Denise and I, that this is such a global thing that's going on, this shift, this paradigm shift, and this, it seems like, it's all coming to a head, and it's global, and that's what Canon is talking about. All spirit is going through this shift, and it's the development of the whole. And the will give way to a lifting into a unified whole, and everything will feel more and more connected. There'll be individuality, but with an overlay of wholeness. So you'll feel like yourself, but you'll also understand that you're connected to everybody. There'll be less scattering of experience fragments. They'll be completing themselves. It's all already happened on an inner level, that life will proceed the same. The earth is available, and the energy of the earth is available to any who want it. That is the work to be done, to want it. And they will choose to use the energy or not. But it changes everything automatically. We're just exposed to it. And when there's enough wholeness functioning, all creations will display individuality with purity. The wholeness energy is available and for everybody, and we just shouldn't be resisting it. That's kind of the problem. This is happening on all planes. If you remember, we did the Hermetic principles, and they talked a lot. They actually described this plane has so many levels, and this level of consciousness has these planes which have so many levels, and it describes what's learned and happens in each of those levels of evolution of the soul. And it's a lot. It's complicated, kind of tedious even trying to go through it and understand it. But what Canon has told us, this shift in energy is happening on all planes, angels, guides, everything linking, like having all the angels all together all at once. And more people are opening to their higher selves. Their consciousness is expanding, and they take in more aspects of themselves, and it just snowballs. And it'll feel like more awareness. It'll feel lighter in the spirit. And if you see anything at all, you'll see small personality changes, but not huge ones. Many forces are at work. Everything is moving toward a greater unity. Chapter 40, the pictures. So in 2006, she's with Dawn and her daughter Alexis, who come for a session with a package of pictures and a CD from 2004. They didn't know what to do with them. They thought of Canon, and they had had a session with Canon. They hadn't really understood it. And so they're bringing her this information, and then they're having a session, and nobody is understanding what it is they're hearing. But Canon says in the book, by 2011, she thinks she's figured it out. So Dawn was outside one night and saw a bright object in the sky. And she took pictures of this object, and when they were developed, she was stunned because she thought she was looking at a solid stationary object that she photographed. But the photograph showed something different. They showed this object was moving and morphing and undulating and changing shape. And Canon received the other pictures that people had given her, other pictures of UFOs, and she thinks that UFOs are way more complicated than, first of all, you have to see them. And then you have to acknowledge that you've seen them and that they're there and that they're real. And most people can't even get to that point. Then you have to realize that what you're seeing is not what they really are, because we're not capable. We're not worthy. That they're actually much more complicated and weird than what even our eyes are telling us. Wayne's World, we're not worthy. Okay. Dawn is in a trance, and Cannon asks her, what are the photos? And she says, higher forces working with the planet to keep it in balance, working with energy grids here and on other dimensions. She said these are an elastic entity, and they spread across the planet, and they do energy work in this grid. And it's like a mother's embrace. It's part of a spiritual evolution, and it is a female energy. And Cannon says, so why did it look kind of like a star, but not really a star? And the answer is the human eye can't see that vibratory level. And sensitive people can feel it, and more sensitive people can see something, but none of us is in condition to actually see what's really going on. And Cannon says, well, then how come they could take pictures of it? And the answer is because the object wanted itself to be photographed because other people need to know. It is a light being, and it changes shape. It's a huge vapor of light. It's a nurturer. It smooths out energy holes and changes negative energy. It helps to fine-tune the energy of the earth. And Cannon is allowed to put this in the book now. We're allowed to know about this. People need to know that we are not alone in the universe. Cannon says maybe this is the energy force that we talked about in book 2 in the early 2000s to help raise consciousness. And the answer is, well, this is not the first time it's been here. It's come to help, and people need to know to feel guided and protected. It's part of the One, the creator institution that we all create. And the answer is it's not a UFO. It's higher than the angelic realms. So I guess we're being told that things that we see out there are not even really material objects as much as a higher vibratory thing. The world needs more people to know this to be ready. It'll be better because it'll cause physicists to rethink light and energy. It affects people on a soul level and on a science level, a gateway for our evolution. I'm kind of fascinated how this is tying in with glimpses of a new reality. The timing is interesting. I don't think any of this is an accident. The Glimpses of a New Reality, book 1, I've had that for years, and I did read it. But I hadn't intended to cover it. I thought it was a little too complicated because it's so many diagrams and pictures. But we did it anyway. And I think there was a reason why we covered it so recently. Because it ties in with this information that Dolores Cannon is getting about crop circles and the energy in math and information being given to us in lump mathematical things. So now we are on the final chapter, Finis. She said that she got a computer to do her work, and it was a miracle for her work. She said sacred ruins are usually disappointing because you go to look at them and modernity encroaches, and guides are saying things like, well, we don't know how they did this, and we don't know how they built that. But she says archaeology won't find everything, and archaeology won't be able to explain all this stuff to us, but we hold the information inside of our DNA. So she said we're now at a point where we can use regression and make it more meaningful. But it's important to know that you can't spend all your time worrying about regressing into the past. She says you have to focus on the present and the future and not on the past. And her final message in the end of this book is keep thinking for yourself. And that is the end of book 4. So I know everybody really enjoys Dolores Cannon's books, and I hope that you enjoyed this one. I know this is a little shorter of a video. Maybe we could read some cards. Why don't we do that? Why don't we ask if Dolores even knows we're up to this here? Well, let's use my new saint cards because, you know, I do think she was a saint of a sort. She was a person who shared knowledge with humanity. And that's pretty saint-like. So let's use our new cards. Now this is this beautiful deck. If you watched my video with my conversation with Nate and his artistic partner, Christina Scagliotti, I hope I said that right, designed this beautiful deck, the Mystic Tarot of the Saints, and you can get it on Etsy. And it's clever and beautiful, and I just really like this. So let's see, just do a real quick reading. Does Dolores Cannon have a message for us? Think for yourself. It's a very important message. So I don't recognize these cards. The Six of Swords. Isn't that beautiful? It looks like Venice, doesn't it? And the message of the Six of Swords is that, see the sword of truth hanging above the bridge there? And the light in the sky? Eventually, we'll be moving into calmer waters. We just have to trust that that's what's going to happen. And the message for the moment, the Ace of Chalices, the Ace of Cups, is this whole experience, no matter how it feels, is an opportunity for us to begin a life, a new way of life, of love and compassion, of empathy for other people. Interesting. The Eight of Swords reversed. There is so much a need to free ourselves from the constraints. And the constraints, you know, according to canon, there are many. We're constrained by our intellect. We're constrained by our lack of understanding. We're constrained by the temptations of the three-dimensional world. We get sidetracked and we incur karmic debt. We're constrained by our emotions, very much so. And we can free ourselves with the sword of truth here. We need to remember that, keep that in the foremost of our minds. The Ten of Wands, kind of, I think these two cards really are saying the same things from slightly different angles. We can embrace the knowledge that we can free ourselves. Whoops, some cards are all falling over. We can free ourselves from the constraints of the world, and we can do that through our actions by stopping with the defense mechanisms and the hostility and the emotions and all the other stupid things we do in this life. And Saint Honoré, the Page of Coins. So this is the Page of Pentacles. And I think that it's a little bit of a comment on the information in this book is knowledge that's it's valuable knowledge that's providing us with a path. It's a way to redirect our path, and as a beginning of a new and very valuable way of living. And I think what's so important about this is the message of Saint Honoré. He was, or is, the patron saint of bakers, and he's known for his generosity to the vulnerable, to the poor and the needy, and he would feed people, bake and feed people, and that empathy and concern the taking of the knowledge and putting it to good use, because the Ace of Cups, the opportunity to move forward with this new knowledge to help others out of compassion. Very, very important. The King of Chalices, just that leadership and wisdom of compassion and empathy. Setting the role, setting the example. Let's see what we've got at the bottom here. Oh my goodness. I do believe this is legitimately a message for us from Dolores Cannon. You're not going to believe this. The Son, Jesus. Now, she's not saying we all need to go out and convert. That's not the point at all. This is a message of truth. It's a message that what we're hearing, the little details, who knows? But the larger message of compassion. Compassion and love and empathy and freeing ourselves from the constraints of this particular world. And, the core message of Jesus. Not the message of religion, not the message of wider Christianity, not the message of anything other than that example of love for one another and care for each other. Wow. Thank you to Dolores Cannon. I truly believe that was a powerful, powerful message, and I actually didn't expect that, so that blows my mind. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good rest of your weekend, because Monday starts all over again. Slank of oil, slancha.